Welcome everyone to another episode of Big Brain MMA podcast, episode 49. I'm your host, BigSteve, back again for the first podcast of 2023. LFA 149, Bunes versus Horiuchi. Bit of a low-level card, but it is what it is. It's LFA. It's something to bet on. It's not UFC. That's fine. The regionals, it's a nice little change of pace. UFC will be back next week. Let's do a little quick overview. So obviously 2022 didn't end on the best note. So I did give out Park last time as my favorite bet, a $3.20 underdog. I was out partying for New Year's. Obviously that still ended up being on the 31st for me. People telling me on Discord, great bet. It's going to hit. And I just, euphoria. I'm about to start out my year or end my year, I guess. Great. And then I'm getting messages 5 minutes later, oh, I actually got robbed, I can't believe it, which kind of made me sad, even though I don't usually care, but just reading the messages and being on the high and then being drunk on top of it. And then obviously I had Kim over Archuleta, $2.50. That was a pass for me until my hand was forced. Another split decision loss. People saying both of those are robberies. It is what it is. I'm not going to rewatch it. There's no point. It's just going to make me more depressed. If they are robberies, the value was there. Shit happens. Could have been worse. I was going to make Park a $1,000 play, a one-unit play, which, 1 unit's nothing crazy, but for me, 1 unit on a $3.20 underdog that has such a low percentage of winning is a big play. So could have been worse. I'm glad I stuck away from it and only made it a $600 play. Kim, no regrets. And then obviously Cage Warriors ended up being on the 1st of January for me. So we hit, who do we hit? I had a parlay, a juicy parlay with Blair and the wrestler and Stewart. All right, a couple of squash matches. I wish that was like a 2-unit shot or something. Sometimes $1.30 favorite, that's going to win in 30 seconds. There's still value there. Which the first ever Cage Warriors card I played, I just played a couple of $1.30 favorites and they all won in 10 seconds. Just squash matches. Cage Warriors is the best at them. So I had that parlay. I had Huck over Sam Creasy, which I mentioned on the podcast. I made that a full unit play. Sorry, someone just said something in the chat. I'll address it later. Threw me off, mate. Pepe Silvio threw me off. No, I don't have any NBA or NFL bets, mate, unfortunately. I've got some Premier League bets if you want them. You can hit me up privately. Hark. When someone asked me about my bet about Hark, I broke it down on my Twitter. And after breaking it down, I was like, you know what? Why do I have this as a half unit bet? It's a pick'em fight, which usually I'm not that comfortable with. And I thought he's going to be winning. He's going to be losing potentially because Sam Creasy is a good fight. Creasy is a good fight, and then we'll get a knockout. So in the end, I just made it a 1 unit play last minute. So happy with that. Happy with the staking. And then unfortunately Barry, which I was tossing up on the podcast. Someone I respected played him. I taped it. Didn't want to play it. I still played it. So it's a little bit annoying that after doing my 12-month. 12-month overview of my bets. I said, be less sloppy and don't be greedy, etc. I still started the year off with a greedy bet on Barry, but it is what it is. I also said on the podcast I'm more nervous about him getting cracked than anything, and he got cracked by Bellotti. So it is what it is. No regrets about the rising bets. When I make bets like that, I'm happy with it. Robberies happen as long as there's value, as long as they're good bets. Barry was a shit bet, and the other two, staking. Happy with the hack staking. And what else? And the parlay could have been a bit bigger, but it is what it is. So we start the year on 800 profit on Cage Warriors. If it was a sweep, it would have been a bit better. Thankfully we leave the last losing event in 2022, the rising card. So beautifully timed with the time difference in Australia. Let's address the comments. Herb Dean, the man always in here. Curious what you have to say on Charles and Ramos' dogs especially, and Bunes Horiuchi. Well, I will address all of them, mate, so stick around. Pepe already addressed this. Tattoo and Dreams, the man. Good hour. How are you, mate? Thanks for joining us. All right, let's get into it. I'll try to keep this one nice and short. First fight on the card, Chance, Ike, Shad Walters. Last-minute fight. I taped about 5 fights yesterday, and I was like, man, I'm smashing through this. And then all 4 fights, you can see them on Tapology just there. They all got cancelled. I was like, man, that hasn't happened to me in a while. So these fights got added just now, recently, maybe a few hours ago. And the odds just got added as I was taping him right before I came. And so I was like, you know what, let's tape these and give the viewers like an actual overview of what I would bet if I had the odds. I personally still don't have the odds because I'm in Australia. I get these like the day before or on the day of. And this is the only fight that there's no odds for. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. No odds. There's no tape. I couldn't find any tape on Chan TK. He's a Guam kid. He trains at Fight Ready. He's got a wrestling background. There's a lot of wrestling videos on YouTube. Seems athletic, explosive. There's a lot more tape on Walters. Just seems like an alright dude. You know, southpaw, mixes in takedowns, can be taken down himself. It's just, yeah, it's hard to know which way it's going to go. All I have is highlights of Ike. One of them is a ground and pound finish. The other one is a straight ankle lock while he's standing over his opponent. He didn't even drop down for it. So, yeah, I can't lead Ike with no tape, just, you know, from the background and being at a good gym. And Shad Walters, I've seen some weaknesses from him. But Ike is probably going to be the favorite when the odds do release, just due to the hype and better camp and being 4-0. So probably a pass fight. Grace DeFrancesco, Kayla Regan, these two chicks. Grace has no tape and Kayla has some jiu-jitsu tape. So a pass for me. Paul Magiris, Bradley Emmett. So I just taped. They both have their first pro fights on YouTube. I watched both of them. I don't know. Couldn't really come up with anything in terms of who I want to bet or who's going to be the favorite based on two fights. Paul just kept getting rocked by his opponent over and over again. Both wanted to grapple. I think they both have wrestling backgrounds. This Paul Magiris is Romanian or Moldovan, whatever that is. I don't want to get that flag wrong. I should probably know it as being European. That's all the same thing anyway. Yeah, against Deshaun White. Just kept getting dropped by him and he ended up winning a gritty decision. And Bradley Emmett beat, how's this for a name? Jose Avila Diaz. So he's got Avila and Diaz in his name. I bet you he trains at the Diaz gym. No, that's a joke. It's horrible. Had Shamrock FC and he re-naked choked him in the third. Could be getting a little bit tired, but I mean, it was his pro debut. He's 22 years old. Yeah, I don't know. Let's just look at the odds for fun. Emmett is the underdog. Yeah, Magiris is the favorite. Yeah, I would have Magiris as the favorite. He seemed to be a lot more mature in there. He seemed to be fighting a lot better opponent, a black explosive dude that was dropping him, and he still got the win. Emmett is more of a kid, and he also got reversed a couple of times. Yeah, I would probably lean Magiris, but minus 200. Nah, pass. Princeton Jackson, Chris Brandt. This is an interesting one. So a lot of tape on both of these. So I actually paid for Chris Brandt's amateur fight, so you don't have to. Around $10, not much. I will have to cancel my membership because it's going to charge me $10 again. Let me address this comment. UFC betting experience, how are you, mate? Bradley Emmett is horrible. No, he looks like it, but it's only one fight. I don't know. Do you have any other fights, any experience? I'll take your word for it. I still don't want to play his opponent at minus 200. By the way, if anyone has any of these fights that I will end up saying I haven't seen, then let me know. Send them to me. Alrighty. Princeton Jackson, more of a jiu-jitsu guy, right? A lot of submissions. He's very tricky. He doesn't have bad wrestling either, from what I could tell. His debut, he fought Jonte McCowan. He went to a decision with him. He's had some slick transitions, to the triangle from the back, arm bars. He dropped down for an e-bar, which you don't like to see. And yeah, he ended up winning a decision. And in round 3, he ended up getting a takedown and actually staying on top. So I like to see that he can go 3 rounds and he's not just a strictly jiu-jitsu guy. He's got some wrestling. He's got top of the game. That McGowan guy, he ended up beating Bobizor Tagayev after that, and he's 1-1 now. So he's not a complete bum, and he was 4-0 with his amateur career. And his opponent, Chris Brandt, this guy was a bit of a powerhouse. He always goes for takedowns. He always goes for clinches. He picks up slams people. He's strong. He's got good power. In his last few fights, he just ran through people. Round 1 KOs. Hunter White, 6-0 guy, KO'd him in 33 seconds. I know a lot of these amateur records are a bit fluffy. Don't mean too much. I mean, but he's still, undefeated at amateur. So this guy just ran through him. It's hard to know in this fight. Brandt is actually the 2 fights that I've seen from 2001 and 2002, both in 2001. He's also been submitted. So Against Christopher McConnell, he took him down. He got submitted via armbar and guard. And then Gustavo Granados, he was throwing him around, dominating him. And then Gustavo just jumped on an opportunistic rear naked choke and choked him out. So that was only last year. A year and, 2023 now. A year and 6 months ago now. So I don't know how much better his submission defense is. It's, he could probably potentially knock out Jackson and get in here and run through him. Although, the fact that he's been submitted, I'm pretty sure he's the favorite. What do we got? I just have to keep going best fight odds because my bookie doesn't have these. Chris Brandt, another minus 200. I don't know. I'm not surprised by that just because he's run through people. He's knocked them out. He's a powerhouse. But Princeton Jackson is 2-0 as a pro, and Brandt's making his debut, and he's a tricky submission guy. He's going to go for the takedowns. His last one, he just took a guy down, rear naked choked him. It's a dog or pass for me. I don't know if I'm going to hit it. We'll see what the line goes. If he gets more juice, hopefully he does. There's a recurring theme on this card. I'm eyeing a lot of the dogs on here. A lot of the dogs. Dog or pass. I haven't played anything. I don't know if I will. UFC betting experience. Did you watch Jackson versus Cedric? Which one is Cedric? No, I haven't. I can't find that fight. That's his first one and only loss on amateurs, and Cedric we'll talk about soon. He's actually fighting on the same card. Actually, he's fighting right now. Do you have that fight? UFC betting experience? If you do, you'll be a lifesaver for sending it to me. Chris may be too strong for Jackson. Yeah, you would think so from the tape. But, he's been taken down. Brandt's been taken down by people before. So even though he's a big explosive dude, he has been taken down quite a bit in a 5-round fight. He's had a 5-round amateur title fight. It was on his back a bit. Didn't find it. Damn. Oh, well. Let's move on. So Cedric Katambala, the guy that we were just talking about, and Adam Garcia. So Cedric, not much tape on him either. He's a Muay Thai dude. I found his loss to Levi Escobar, beautiful last name. On his amateurs, he essentially got outgreed and taken down in 2017, which almost 6 years ago now. He was 26, he's 32 now. He fights the same way all the time. He gets up, he sprawls and brawls. He doesn't really brawl. He's just a technical Muay Thai guy. He's got a few Muay Thai fights on YouTube, and he has a lot of decisions, right? So he doesn't have knockout power. He's got good knees, good elbows. But just looks to sprawl and just pick you apart. With the teeps, the leg kicks. He's always, from what I've seen from the clips, and even his professional, there's a couple of his LFA, 2 LFA professional fights. There's a couple of clips on Twitter, like 30 seconds max. And he just seems to be fighting the exact same way, just stick and move, look to sprawl, and, both decision wins. So not much power, right? Not much power, and that's essentially what he is. Not much tape, and he's a kickboxer, a tall, rangy Muay Thai fighter. On the other side, we have his opponent, Garcia. Adam Garcia. Now, this guy is also undefeated. And also, not much tape, but every single fight is on the internet. Actually, I don't know if it is. Guang Han? Yes, that's on the internet as well. So he's an explosive, stocky dude. He's essentially just ran through everyone, picked them up, slammed them down, knocked them out, or submitted him. This Jonathan Santana guy, a 3-1 amateur, he dislocated his elbow. It was horrendous. The guy didn't tap. Just bent it backwards. And then the Quan guy just rocked him. That's his first pro fight, and just unloaded to the body, and the guy was against the ropes, and the ref saved him. So no fights over, and it says it was unanswered punches at the end of round 1. That was like 2 minutes into the first round. So no one really got over halfway through the first round. Actually, it did in his first fight. It doesn't really matter. He just seems to be a stocky, explosive. I don't really know if he's a wrestler, but he just seems well-rounded. But it's hard to know with these low-level guys when they're fighting low-level people. Like, they look good at everything because the people that they're fighting are bad at everything. So I'm looking at this line here. Cedric Katambala, the Muay Thai fighter, he's $1.30 favorite, and I'm thinking of taking a stab on Adam Garcia. Right, last year was the first time I took a journey into LFA, and I've noticed some of these massive dogs that you kind of think shouldn't be that much of dogs, and you don't really know how they're going to win. You're just playing the number. They end up being money on LFA. So Adam Garcia, I mean, he can literally win how Levi Escobar has beaten Katambala with the wrestling, with the grittiness, the power. Right? Essentially, Cedric's just going to sprawl and outstrike him to a close decision according to his record. Like, tons of questions. Adam could be gassy, like never won over 2 minutes, the way he fights. But he could have the finishing upside against Cedric. So, yeah, I'm going to look at the weigh-ins. I'm going to look at this line. It's definitely something that I will be sprinkling. I can tell you right now, you can count that as a bet for me. Whatever it may be, a quarter unit, maybe even less, maybe $100, 0.1 units. But that's, I have, my gut feeling is telling me to bet that. So Adam Garcia, sprinkle, massive underdog. I assume it's because Cedric has 2 professional wins in LFA, right? But they're on prelims and you can't find them. All right, next fight, Eric Fimbres, Tony Charles. I taped Eric Fimbres first. I was like, oh, this guy's not really impressive to me. The commentator was saying he's got a really good wrestling background, and he was just struggling. First guy he took down to a decision. Second guy he was really struggling to take down. He's 6'6". He's really tall and lanky. It's like, man, this guy's wrestling is pretty average for what the commentator is talking him up to be. And that's all I saw. 2 fights, 2 decisions. Second one was really close. I thought he lost potentially. I can't remember which guy he fought in that. I see he's got 6 amateur fights. 1, 2, 3. I just can't remember. There was only 2 fights, so I can't remember which one of the opponents it was. But they're all pretty average. And then on his opposite side, I've got Tony Charles. I'm not too sure what Tony Charles is good at. He seems to be an athletic guy. He's got some power. He's got some pop on his punches. He can be taken down. He goes for his own takedowns. He's had 3 professional fights. Unlike Fimbers only had 1. I just think this could be a bit of a physicality difference. Even though Fimbers is going to take him down, and Charles is shown to be able to be taken down, I think he can potentially hurt him, be more athletic, more explosive, less lanky. Yeah, it's just another fight. I don't want to talk too much about it. It's just another fight where it's a dog or pass for me. What are the odds? Tony Charles, $3.20. Yeah, so pretty similar to the Adam Garcia, Cedric Katambala fight. Again, it just seems to be like another Fimbres, hype guy with an undefeated record and more of a younger kid and a wrestling background versus, Tony Charles. And even Tony Charles' pro wins, I get it. The CJ Blackman fight, he won due to a cut stoppage to his eye. But it was back and forth. He could have been losing that round. He lost the first round, the first fight against Jacob Lurie via ground and pound in Mount. So, he's and the Luke Brewer. He won Luke Brewer fight 2 rounds to 1, but he was taken down in rounds 2 and was on his back most of that round. So all his wins are a bit dodgy and a bit, red flags in him. But it's just, he's a $3.20 underdog for a reason. So it's another dog or pass for me. I don't know if I'm as confident, if I like it as much as the Garcia one though. I'll fish around some more. Might have to be careful though, because I remember maybe one of the LFAs where I lost half unit on white. The only dog I took, there was a lot of favorites that crushed. But yeah, a lot of the times, a lot of dogs hit too. Alrighty, co-main event of the evening, Marcus McGee, Luciano Ramos. Just same story again. Marcus McGee, really explosive, athletic guy. Switches stances, good variety in his strikes. He's in and out, very athletic. He can be taken down, but he seems to get up or work his way up most of the time. He did lose to Rafael Nascimento Mosquito, the guy that's also just won his second LFA fight as a massive underdog by KO in the first round. So the guy is a bit of having a bit of reassurance. Not reassurance. I forgot the word now. I can't think of it. He's coming back with his career in LFA. So he's not a bad opponent to lose. He's good jiu-jitsu. Other than that, Marcus McGee rebounded with another KO in round 3. I mean, every fight that I've seen go into round 2, Ricky Maynez and Rafael Montini, who is a solid opponent. He was 6-3 at the time. Maybe not. He's 6-6 now. He's lost to Jalen Bates, Anthony Burchak. Maybe he's a solid opponent. I don't know. He just lost to good fighters. Every fight that's went into round 2, his cardio seems to hold up, and he does throw a lot. He doesn't really he's always full systems go. He's always switching stances, throwing hard, coming in and out. So yeah. And his opponent, Luciano Ramos, 8-7. Bit of a salty record, but the first thing I thought when taping this guy was, this guy's not that bad. How is his record so salty, right? Obviously, he has a lot of losses. There's 3 losses in 2016 and 2 in 2013 and 14, right? So 5 of his losses are 6+ years ago. And I've heard something in his fight against Cedric Katambala in LFA. He said his dream was to be not a UFC fighter, just an MMA fighter in general. So he moved from Argentina. So he might have just been in a crappy Argentinian gym, not really trying too hard. I mean, 6 years ago, he was, I don't know his age. Doesn't say. I'm pretty sure he's around 30, 29, maybe 32. Probably young, not taking it seriously. But yeah, since he's come back, beat Cedric Katambala in via decision. He just kept taking him down. Triangle, Calvin Petro. He seems to have good jiu-jitsu, good aggressive guard, does look for takedowns. Even in the striking, his guard is high. He throws hard, sharp hooks, spinning back kick. He's not bad. Like I said, from what I've seen, he's seems to be well-rounded. I think his record could be much better. And he did lose recently to Kevin Cordero in Copa Combate, which is not the best promotion, although Cordero is 14-3 now, right? And I've looked through this guy's record. I like to wiki cap quickly just to see the level of opponents. He has a round 1 submission over Ricky Bandejas from Bellator, right? And he only just won a split decision over Luciano Ramos. Right, a bunch of other. He lost to Liam Gittins, who is in Cage Warriors, staple of Cage Warriors, and lost to Scott Malone, his first ever fight, who is also in Cage Warriors, staple of Cage Warriors. This guy's not bad. Beat Ramos and Bruno. Yeah, it's not bad. He just lost the last fight to France Miambo, who's if you know France Miambo, he's in Bellator. He was everywhere. He's very underrated regional guy. And another split. So this Kevin Cordero, 14-3, is not bad, and Ramos just lost a split to him. I could only find the highlight of that fight. So it seems like he wants to get takedowns. He wants to get his jiu-jitsu going. He can kind of compete with his striking. The main thing here is, Marcus McGee seems a lot more athletic, a lot more bigger. I think there's going to be a bit of a physicality gap between the two, and probably the power as well. Like I said, McGee usually works his way up when people take him down. I don't think Ramos has the best control. His jiu-jitsu is solid, although the one time he has been taken down and had his back taken, McGee was submitted in the second last fight by Mosquito. So it's possible. It's another massive favorite. McGee, $1.26. Ramos is actually the biggest dog, almost $4 underdog. I just have to sprinkle all of these, I just have to sprinkle it. He's been to decision. He seems. This is just the whole card is. Fighters that seem to have some sort of hype or better records against salty records that seem like journeymen, and the bookies are potentially wiki capping it. That's what I'm thinking. And every single one of these that I actually taped these before the odds came out, and in my head I was like, this guy's probably a massive dog, but I kind of like him anyway. And then the odds were released, and they're all the same. So that's how I feel about the whole card. So at the moment, it's another logo pass for me. Now let's move on to the best card, the highest level card on the highest level fight on the card. Pardon me. I just say it. I'm feeling a bit parched. Felipe Bunes versus Yuma Horiuchi. Great fight. The line is kind of moving back and forth. I still don't have it. I still don't have the odds. So just before, Bunes was a bit of an underdog, and now it's a pick'em. Let me just double check. Well, now Bunes is a slight favorite. Quite crazy, honestly. Quite crazy. Bunes' first time taping this kid is actually, I like what I see. He's not bad. Really high level jiu-jitsu, in my opinion. High level opponents. Yoni Sherbatov is over there in ACA fighting undefeated 7-0, 8-0, 10-1 Russians, 20-8 Russians. Juicy Formiga from the UFC. This guy's fighting, who's who on the regionals, as best of the best competition you can fight, while not being in the actual UFC. And I was impressed what I seen. I had to tape this fight on 2 different days. The first day I taped it, I could only tape these last 3, Cylinder, Formiga, Cruz. I couldn't Yaku. I used Yaku to watch ACA fights, which is the Chinese YouTube. It just wasn't loading. So I came away thinking, oh, he might be a little bit submission or position. His gas tank is a little bit, I don't know how I feel about it. Obviously, getting rear naked choked by Juzia Formiga means nothing. One of the best backtakers, rear naked chokers in history, especially in the flyweight division. And then the Vasco Cruz fight, it was a split decision. I watched it. It was two referees gave it 30-27, and then the judge that made it a split gave 29-28 to Cruz, which was absolutely ridiculous. This fight should have been 30-27 for Bunes across the board. He's a bit long. He's lanky. He's got serviceable striking. He's got nice back fist, back kick. Yeah, he's decent. He can be a little bit hittable, but his chin seems to hold up. And yeah, very, very aggressive, very solid guard. The day after, I checked the Chinese tube again, and it was working. So I taped these 3 decision losses that he has to Mansour Katayev. Essentially, all of them have taken him down. Obviously, these Russians, they can't help but take everyone down. Doesn't matter how good their guard is. And they're all in really, really deep armbar attempts. Like I said, his grappling is very solid. Some of them, I can't remember which one. Some of them he actually took down himself. He's got decent wrestling to take down Russians. I've seen him take down most people he's fought. It's how he beat Cruz and LFA. So a lot of them were 29-28s. He slowed down a bit. But yeah, it was competitive striking. When they went for takedowns, he was easily taken down. That's his only problem. He seems very comfortable off his back. Like I said, he's locking in these tight arm bars ASAP. And then he fought, right? Also, all 3 of them were decision losses. So he's never been finished up until Juicy Formiga rear naked choked him. Again, no shame in that. And then obviously rebounded with the triangle armbar win over 20-8, Mikhail Selande in ACA. That was the fight that I kind of thought he might be submission over position. He was kind of gassing, and he just fell off the back of Selande, and he was going for arm bars, and I'm like, oh, this is definitely one of his losses. And he still locked it in triangle arm bars. So he's very slick. He's always dangerous. You can't take your eye off him. You can't relax in his guard. So yeah, just pretty impressed with this guy. And then Yuma, I'm pretty sure I broke Yuma down last time, or I didn't break him down. I might have not done a stream for LFA. Yuma's not a guy you can trust as a favorite. I remember having a little bit of FOMO when everyone was getting slight or dog odds on him against Juan Puerta, or slight favorite odds. And I was like, oh man, I wish I had these odds. And then he opened up as like $1.65 favorite, and some people I know were still hitting him. And there was something stopping me. I was like, I can't. I'm getting FOMO. I think that was one of the LFA cards I passed on almost everything. Yeah, Guffaro versus Silva. And they're all the dogs that received some action ended up losing. So I'm glad I passed there, because Puerta was on the way to winning that. I know Puerta is just, Yuma he's not trustworthy, right? He stands very upright. He's very hittable. No head movement whatsoever. He can be taken down. He can be wrestled, right? On his record, he's been rear naked choked 2013. Okay, it's a while ago, so I'm not going to say he can't be armbarred, but I think Bunes is someone that can armbar a lot of people. He's got losses to Ludovic Shalinian, who's crap, and Leandro Gomez in LFA. I watched that Leandro fight. He just, kept getting taken down. He's a great scrambler. He's a great back taker, as we've seen in his Puerta comeback from behind win. And obviously in his Donovan Frillo armbar submission win. He's good off his back. Usually he scrambles. He doesn't play jiu-jitsu too much, but he can be wrestled. He can be taken down. And if he keeps getting taken down over and over again, it's a way to lose a decision, right? Even though he's good at scrambling back up. He has been cracked and wobbled by a lot of people. Charles Johnson wobbled him in the first round. Top Noi, Kiram on the road to UFC, dropped him in round 1. The fact that he lost that fight is a red flag, considering how much of a ground advantage he had over Top Noi. He had Top Noi's back in round 2, and then he had his back in round 3 as well. Although I think the striking disparity was so much that they still gave the round to Top Noi. And then, Juan Puerta actually busted him up in round 1, cut him open, and then ended up to backpacking him for 2 rounds. So, yeah, I was honestly leaning towards Bunes as a dog. He's a slight favorite now. Yeah, he's just, they're both kind of hittable, and I still have questions about Bunes' cardio. He kind of slows down, but I don't think Yuma slows down at all, right? I've seen Yuma losing and then coming back against Puerta and getting a finish, when he needed a finish. I've seen him go 5 rounds against Charles Johnson, right? Very close fight. He lost a split, but he lost a point there too. I've seen him lose points constantly from like one groin shot. The judges seem to hate Yuma. The 5 round is what's scaring me here. I feel like Bunes can keep it competitive, He can definitely crack Yuma, someone that's very hittable. I think Yuma's going to be looking to rack up the leg kicks. He throws a lot of leg kicks. I think Yuma might have more power. Right, I've seen him put out Mark Klimako, who's undefeated, very good wrestler, solid prospect. He's still a solid prospect. But yeah, this is going to be a scramble heavy fight potentially. Bunes is going to take him down. I think Yuma also goes for takedowns. I'm not against him getting submitted. I think Bunes can submit him if anything's possible. I think his guard is very high level from what I've seen. Obviously, he didn't submit the Russians, but it was very close. It's a close fight. It's a close fight. The 5-rounder is putting me off. I don't see much value now. I'd pick him more slight favorite odds for Bunes. But yeah, it's going to be a very good fight. Probably one of the highest level fights you can make outside the UFC in the flyweight division, and 5-rounder as well. So if anything, I'll be excited to watch it. But yeah, at the moment, I don't know. I'll have to think real hard how this is potentially going to go. Bunes can get takedowns. I don't think Yuma's going to submit him. He can maybe scramble up. He's going to pressure. Bunes will become hittable rounds 2, 3, 4, 5. Yuma has more power. I think Yuma has a better chin. Yeah, it's a rough one. I really can't decide. I don't want to force it. The line is not too enticing for me. So yeah, pass for me, but a great fight. Let's address some of the comments, and then I'll do a little overview and we'll get out of here. UFC betting experience. Ramos can take over late rounds. Plus 300 is wide. I agree, it's wide. It's wide. I mean, there's a risk that McGee can knock him out. But yeah, Ramos seems quite durable to me, actually. I don't know how many times he's been finished. Let me check that. That could be a decider for me here. He's been knocked out in some boxing fights, which I don't like to see. Other than that, MMA, not much. Finished with rear naked chokes. Yeah, it's just been submitted, knocked out in boxing. I don't like to see that because knockout's a knockout. But yeah, not finished much. Yeah, like I said, there's gonna be a lot of plays on here. Stay on my Twitter. I'm trying to be more active on Twitter. What else we have? Yuma at Pick'em odds can't go wrong. Yeah, now that it's Pick'em, I'm kind of leaning him. The cardio, despite him having that tall man defense and bad takedown defense, and sometimes a lack of IQ. Although you can say the way he beat Puerta is good IQ. He knew he needed to finish. He pressured him. He cracked him, and he just rear naked choked him. Yeah. I pick him. I kind of lean Yuma now. I like Bunes as a slight dog, but I feel like I was still passing then. I feel like there wasn't enough meat on the bone. Slight underdog maybe was accurate, but yeah. Let's quickly go over all the fights, and then I'll get out of here. Chance K, Shad Walters, no odds. Minimum tape. BK is probably going to be favorite pass. Female fight pass. Paul Magiris, Emmett pass. Princeton Jackson, Chris Brandt. Jackson or pass for me. I think I'm passing. I think I've seen Brandt submitted enough times for me just to not want to risk the minus 200 odds. Cedric Katambala, Adam Garcia. I'll definitely be sprinkling Adam Garcia. Let's go. He's got all the finishing upside. Who knows if he gasses? Probably does, but tiny stab, worth a stab. Eric Fimbers, Tony Charles, another dog or pass. Not sure if I'll come around to it. Maybe I'll look into it some more. Marcus McGee, Luciano, Ramos. I think I've been talked into it. Right? I didn't realize it was going to be that much of a dog. So another play for me, Ramos. And Felipe Bunes, Yuma Horiuchi, amazing fight. Highest level fight on the card. It's going to have to be a pass for me from a betting perspective. So yeah, it's going to have a few dog stabs. Sometimes they're the best. I remember last time I had 2 dog stabs was on fading Pereira's sister in her MMA debut, and some other chick that won in like 10 seconds. It's a massive dog too. And it was like 1,500 profit from 2 tiny stabs. Yeah, and they were both on prelims. So hopefully that's the theme of this card. In about just under 24 hours, I'll be doing an early Gastelum versus Imavov breakdown. So nice and early, more than a week. Give you boys something to watch. The Scrap is back, and I've got Evan from Coastal Combat on as well. So I always wanted to do a three-person podcast. So that's in just under 24 hours. So get excited about that. Other than that, good luck if anyone is betting this card. And yeah, I will see everyone tomorrow. Thank you for listening.